Hi, 7th and 8th grade science students. How you doing? Remember me, Mr. McMillan here. I know we've been off of school for a week or so, but I think we need to get back to work. So when you're ready, get your science book. Hopefully you brought that home. Something to write in, a notebook, and a pen or a pencil. I'm going to take you through chapter 1, the first part of it. We're going to watch some awesome videos, do some work, and then you can email me all your work and I'll grade it and get it back to you. So we'll get started in just a few minutes. Hope everyone is safe and healthy at your house. We're doing fine here. Hopefully it won't be too long. We'll get back to normal. We'll see how that works out. See you soon. I'm going to go set up the projector. Be right back. Okay, we're ready to start. If you haven't had a chance yet, don't forget to get your notebook and a pen. We're going to start that now. Now, this is on YouTube, so at any time you can pause it. If I go too fast, I'll probably go a little quicker than I normally would do in class. You do need these notes. You're going to bring these back with you when we're back in school, and we're going to use them for our next test. So here we go. This is for the 7th and 8th grade science classes. This is chapter 1 on stars and galaxies. Take a moment and write that down. And again, if I go too fast for you, always pause it. Okay, so we're going to learn about stars. We started some of this already right before we had to leave school. Most of the stars, or at least half of them, are multiple star systems, 2 or more stars revolving around each other. We found that most stars are double star systems. Our nearest star neighbor, Alpha Centauri, is actually a triple star system. Now, we started a project on constellations. I got most of those from you. They'll be on Power School soon. And what we found is that they are stars grouped in such a way that they form patterns to the human eye. What we know about these constellations is that they were named by the ancient Greeks. We do know that earlier cultures also named constellations, but the one that we're familiar with are the ones that we look at in the evening came from the Greeks. Probably about the first written record is 270 BC in a poem when they talk about one of the constellations. In 1922, the International Astronomical Union recognized 88 known constellations. Quite a few of them. I don't know that many myself. Number 4, stars in the constellations can be far from each other. They're not flat on a black sky. Some of them are millions of light years behind others. Doesn't matter from our perspective because they're so far away. We see them as on a flat surface, 2-dimensional instead of 3. Okay, we're going to move on. Keep going with me. Actually, what we're going to do, I'm going to pause for a moment. Let's take a look at a video together. That might help us understand this a little better.
Groups of stars are sometimes called constellations, and scientists still use the names of these constellations to describe different parts of the night sky. Probably the most famous group of stars that's easiest to find is the Big Dipper. If you live in the northern hemisphere, you can spot it pretty easily in the northern part of the sky. It's made of 7 bright stars, and if you connect the dots of those stars, you'll see a big squarish bowl with a really long handle sticking out of it. In the United States, some people thought the stars looked like a big ladle or spoon, so they called it the Big Dipper. But just like the fluffy clouds we were talking about, groups of stars can look different to different people. In Great Britain, for example, the same 7 stars are called the Plough because they were thought to look like a farmer's plow. And people in Germany thought it looked like a wagon. And those same stars also reminded lots of ancient people of a giant bear. Scientists today consider the Big Dipper to be part of a bigger constellation that they call Ursa Major, for Great Bear. The Big Dipper is easiest to find in the summer when it's higher in the sky. But in the winter, you should look for another famous constellation, Orion. The first part that you'll probably see are the 3 bright stars in a row. In ancient Greece, stargazers thought that they looked like the belt of a great hunter. They thought the 2 bright stars above it would be where his shoulders were, and the 2 stars below it, his legs. The more people looked, the more other things they saw. And if you use your imagination and follow the stars from one of his shoulders, you can see another group of stars, like he's holding on to something, like a shield. And what are those fuzzy lights hanging from his belt? Well, kind of looks like a sword. There's a lot more to Orion than just a few stars. That's why when astronomers talk about constellations, they don't just mean the few stars that might look like something. They also mean all of the other stuff in that part of the night sky. So part of what gives Orion's sword its fuzzy brightness is a distant cloud of gas and dust called the Orion Nebula. That's part of the Orion constellation too. So what if you live in the southern hemisphere? Then keep your eyes open for the crux, the smallest of the constellations. It's still pretty easy to find, especially in the winter, because of the 4 bright stars that make a cross, which is what its name means. The southern hemisphere is also a great place to find Sagittarius, a constellation that reminded ancient Greeks of a creature that was part man, part horse, shooting an arrow. For most people, the easiest way to find it is to look for the 8 stars that make this shape. To me, it looks more like a teapot, but that's why it's fun to make up stories. So the next time that you're outside and it's dark, look up and see if you can find any of these constellations or other groups of stars. Or...
Okay, let's pick up from where we left off. We're going to move on to the next slide. You got your pencil or pen ready? Let's take some more notes. Okay, also covered in this first chapter is information about stars and nebulas. The word nova is used to show a star that has increased in size as much as 100 times brighter. Now, people a long time ago often got confused by this. They thought it was a brand new star. They didn't realize that it was a star that was dying. They called it a nova star, and if you know what nova means, it means new. But they were wrong. Most of the stars that are novas are binary star systems. But again, it often means the death of a star as it starts to expand into the solar system. Letter D, the nebula, are huge clouds of dust and gases. We find that they are the birthplace of new stars. They release enormous amounts of infrared waves. Okay, let's talk about the galaxies. We know that there's 3 basic types that astronomers give to the shapes. The first type we're familiar with, that's a spiral galaxy. It's the shape that looks like pinwheels. Our Milky Way is a spiral galaxy. It has 3 spiral arms. We're actually on the outside of one of the arms. Another type, that's this one up here, by the way. This is a spiral. If I look down here, this is known as an elliptical galaxy. It looks like a spherical shape or a flat disk. We believe that the oldest stars are existing in these types of galaxies. One thing we know, there's very little gas and dust, and gas and dust often indicates new stars. And finally, the third type of galaxy is known as an irregular galaxy. It has no orderly shape. It's not as common as the other 2. The best example are the large and small Magellanic Cloud galaxies. We can actually see them with our own eye. Most galaxies are believed to have at least 100 billion stars, but most likely there's more than that in each one. Okay, so in a minute we're going to go to another website, but let's take a little bit, another look at a video about galaxies.
Galaxy. A galaxy is a huge bunch of stars that are clustered together in space. And the galaxy that our solar system is part of is called the Milky Way. The Milky Way is full of stars. How many? Well, do you know how much 1,000 is? 1,000 looks like this. And if you take 1,000 and multiply it by 1,000 and multiply it by 1,000 again, that number is a billion. And there are billions of stars just in the Milky Way alone. In fact, there are so many stars in the Milky Way that we still don't know exactly how many there are. But scientists think that many of the other stars in our galaxy probably have planets of their own. And the Milky Way isn't the only galaxy. Astronomers who study deep, distant space have found other galaxies too, more than you could count. To organize and study all of these galaxies, astronomers usually group them into 3 main types, depending on their shape. There are spiral galaxies, elliptical galaxies, and irregular galaxies. Spiral galaxies are in the shape of a pinwheel. They have that shape because stars in a spiral galaxy are clumped into lines that curl outward. These lines are called spiral arms. And the galaxy that you and I are in right now, the Milky Way galaxy, is a spiral galaxy. Now, some spiral galaxies are just flat, like a pancake, but other spirals, including our own Milky Way, have a large bulge in the middle that's made up of a big bunch of stars. The stars in the bulge are usually older stars, while younger stars are often flat with a bulge in the middle, these galaxies are all bulged. They tend to have mostly older stars in them, and stars in an elliptical galaxy are really close together, which makes the middle of the galaxy look like one giant bright star. The last common type of galaxy is an irregular galaxy. Irregular means not regular, and these kinds of galaxies don't have a definite regular shape. Instead, these clusters of stars can take all kinds of different shapes, like this, or even this. There are tons of other galaxies out there to learn about, and scientists are discovering new ones all the time. So the next time you're out at night gazing at the sky, remember that you and the Earth and the whole solar system are part of something bigger, a galaxy. Thanks for joining us today. If you have a question...
Okay, you got your notebook there. Go ahead and write down this website. It's https. You can read the rest there. A spaceplace.nasa.gov/galaxy/en/. Write that down. We're going to take you to that space. Let me take you there and I'll show you what it looks like. Here we go. Okay, so here's the website I want you to go to. It's presented by NASA Science. And if you take a look here, it's going to ask you some questions, give you information about galaxies. It'll go over the things that we did both in our notes in the previous video. Keep reading down there. There is a picture from the Hubble Space Telescope of all the different galaxies that it found in a very small space. And gives you a little more information, okay? So once you've done that, you're going to take a little quiz for me, and I want you to email me your answers so I can grade them. All right, so let me put that back up on the screen here. Okay, there's that website again. Now here are the questions you have to answer for me. So you don't necessarily have to write down the questions because they'll be on your screen, but there are 5 of them. So make sure you're on that website. Take your time, go through each one, find the answers. If you can, email them to me. I'll grade them and give you a score. I'll get back to you on that, all right? So you'll have to come back to this page. I'm going to move on. Here's my email address that you can use. It's mr.mick.cos.scienceclass@gmail.com. Okay, keep looking for a new lesson. I'll do at least once a week, but if I can get one together sooner than that, I'll let you know. All right? All right, we'll see you just in a minute. Okay, graders and 7th graders, that's about it for now. A couple things I'd like you to do, though, before we finish up here. Would you read from pages 12 to 20 in your book and answer the questions on page 21? You can email me those answers also, and I'll grade those just as well. Don't forget to go on TTM. Don't forget about iReady and SumDog. I'll keep monitoring how you do on those, and then I'll get back to you. All right, so tune in every so often to YouTube. Check for new lessons coming up. Stay safe. See you soon. I gotta get a Coke.